Well, hello, another yes and no question. This one is Facebook good for you? I know many of you will say, well, Facebook is fading into obscurity in the light of some of the other messaging and idea sharing apps, but let's be clear. Facebook still has a billion users, about the same as Instagram. I must admit that WhatsApp has 2 billion. These numbers are just unbelievable. But nonetheless, there's enough people on Facebook still that this is certainly worth talking about. It's an interesting subject, and there are views on both sides. So let's get right to them. So first of all, there are those who would say yes, Facebook is good for you. Well, I suppose the principal reason for liking it is that it enables you to stay in touch with friends, connect with old friends, just simply stay connected with people with whom you certainly would be unlikely to exchange letters, and you can exchange ideas, pictures, and so forth with relative ease. I myself have reconnected with a lot of people I hadn't been in touch with for many years on Facebook, and we have the occasional back and forth banter and comment and piece of information and so forth. So that's a real value. Number two, Facebook provides an opportunity to share ideas and information and knowledge with like-minded groups, people who have the same interests, hobbies, obsessions that you do. Bird watchers get together in Facebook, as do nature lovers of all sorts. We belong to one that looks after the local river here in Canterbury. The idea that people can discover others who have the same interests and have some information that they can share their ideas with is a real benefit. It just gets you into another whole way of connecting with the world. Another argument, particularly for older people, let's say, I love that expression, people of a certain age, is it's probably the only way you can keep up with what your grandchildren are up to. They certainly wouldn't write you a letter or send you photographs in the post or whatever. So that way you can see what they're doing, what they're thinking, what they're saying to their friends, and to a limited extent, really kind of keep tabs on them. What a great benefit that is. And then finally, it's a way to get things going, to start a movement, get an activist cell started, perhaps even foment revolution, depending on what sort of ideas you're advancing. Who can forget the revolution in Egypt in, I think it was 2011, when the people in the street were increasingly dissatisfied with the very tough and brutal methods of the Egyptian government under Hosni Mubarak. And they insisted they wanted him removed, and it went on and on and on, and finally they won. And Mubarak resigned. He was basically told to go, I think, by the military. But it's a huge possible kind of power of Facebook. You could argue that, of course, that's destructive sometimes, but from the standpoint of the individual, it's a very powerful force to have, and one that you can unleash from your desk. You don't even have to get out on the streets. So how great is that? Okay, those are some positive reasons. What about some negatives? Well, I suppose the biggest objection I hear to people who aren't on Facebook, whom I try to persuade to get on Facebook, is that it's dangerous. It's likely to result in your getting hacked, your private information intruded upon, stolen. People will find out what you're up to. Now, of course, you have to be up to something you don't want them to find out about for that to be a worry. But nonetheless, there is this whole notion of a fear of intrusion on privacy. Second, you might come out badly competitively. You're exchanging Facebook messages and images and so forth with a friend, perhaps somebody you haven't seen for a while, and you suddenly notice that they have a much bigger house than you do, or a nicer car, or a more beautiful wife, or more interesting children, more accomplished children. A lot of the kind of thing that we kind of value and rate as a measure of success. And you don't want to be coming to the conclusion that you're kind of second rate or a loser. That could happen if if you decide that too many of your friends are basically winning the competitive game. That could kind of get you down, really. Number three, and I suspect this is almost a universal problem, you wind up getting connected to forgettable, boring drudges. People that just rabbit on about the same thing and about trivia, about things that you don't think are important, but somehow you can't cut them off, and so you just have to kind of suffer through their monotonous and boring carrying on. Well, that's one of the prices you pay. You can't, of course, disconnect and refuse to listen to them anymore, but then they might have some kind of information that you think with hindsight would have been of use to you, so you worry about that a little bit. Another big one is that you might inadvertently disclose something that you wish you hadn't, or make a statement that you regret, that embarrasses you, could get you into trouble at work. For heaven's sakes, discloses the fact to your wife that you've got a girlfriend because there's a picture somehow or other that arrives on Facebook of you and the girlfriend that she happens to spot. Believe it or not, that happens all the time. I've been told that quite a high percentage of divorce cases now involve information gleaned from social media, and in particular from Facebook. So watch that one. If you have criminal plans, they could come a cropper as well because of something you've disclosed on Facebook, something you've neglected to tell the police in your interviews where you're helping police with their inquiries. The classic case on this was this chap up north who is referred to as the canoeist. He set out on a trip to in the sea in a canoe and disappeared. The whole thing was an insurance scam, and his wife collected the insurance money and then eventually joined him in Belize, the old British Honduras, off of the Mexican coast. And he was stupid enough to have a picture taken of him with a local estate agent, which appeared on Facebook, which was, for some reason or other, clever policing, spotted by Scotland Yard, and they came and grabbed him, and into prison he went. So if you have those sorts of plans, be careful, because you could get undone by Facebook as well. Finally, it simply can become a huge time waster. So much so that a lot of companies, of course, they forbid employees from using their computers to look at Facebook, or they figure out clever ways to prevent them from being able to access Facebook from their desks. It can become an addiction. You simply have to be online all the time to see what's going on, and as a consequence, the amount of time you waste can become really huge. So that can't be a good thing. Well, what's my take on all of this? Well, I've always been an enthusiastic user of Facebook. I like kind of keeping up with what's going on with friends, and I also have a few interest groups that I find it useful to swap information with and to learn what's going on. So that's all good stuff. But at the same token, I've realized that number one, I've got to discipline myself not to spend too much time on it, and beyond that, to be careful, to make sure that I've set things up so that I won't find myself revealing too much information. If you're going to use social media heavily, it behooves you to understand what the security issues are, what the latest developments are, and to follow them. And of course, you simply want to keep up with all the latest features, improvements, innovations, and so forth. There's always a better way to do the things that you're trying to do online, and Facebook makes every effort to try and stay up itself. It may be losing the struggle a bit, but it's still a wonderful resource properly used. Okay, well, that's my take. If you like it, please say so. Give me a like. Subscribe. Please subscribe. Make comments. Give the notification bell a ring. And I'll see you at the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.